Hi everybody, this is your Professor Ian. This is a short video. I'm going to talk about response paper number 3, the last one for the course. So let's look at the instructions. Okay, so a lot of this is very similar to the instructions for the previous response papers. Same intro, just description of the response papers in general. And then I have 6 prompts. So the first one, read the following poem, then write a response where you consider the way the poet uses diction and structure to reflect on his father's life. Pay attention to how the poet spends a long time lovingly describing the first half of his father's life. How does this compare to the rest? So that's just a suggestion, right? These are things I noticed when I read and would be really good to write about, his use of diction and structure. You'll see that language is very much a focus in that poem. And then something to help you think about maybe what your thesis would look like. Same for the second poem, Pedestrian, by Tommy Blunt. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And then, I've suggested, consider the way the poet uses enjambment and rhythm to turn his brief experience into a reflection on larger issues. Be sure that you read this aloud and pay attention to the way the poet directs your eye. Note, and here I've given you a little key to some of the context. The poet is black, and one can deduce from context clues in the poem, the speaker in the poem is black as well, and that is important for that poem. So just a little bit of information. Third one, the way the poet uses structure and rhythm to describe a piece of modern warfare, and you want to think about his attitude toward this piece of modern warfare, a drone. Be sure that you read this aloud, pay attention to the way the poet directs your eyes. Think about the way the words rhyme and partially rhyme. Is there a set rhyme scheme? Also, be on the lookout for allusion, right? And if these terms are Latin to you right now, don't worry, we're going to be covering them. You can look them up as well. So, just some ideas about what you might look for as you're writing. The fourth one is a love poem. You should think about, it's written in a sonnet form. You should think about the imagery used. You should look at the pronouns used. And think about the way that the poet is casting themselves and the object of their love in this poem. Right? There's a pattern to the imagery that you're going to want to think about. And then the fifth poem is a little bit different. This is a performance piece. So this is a performance at a slam poetry contest. So you're going to watch this performance and then consider how she uses imagery and her performance to make an argument about the way women are treated in our society. Now, you should pay attention, of course, to tone and body language, but you should also pay attention to the words of the poem, because there's a lot of imagery that's very important, and it goes along with her performance. You're going to see there's, the tone that she takes in the performance is very much in keeping with the imagery, and you're going to want to think about that intersection and how that helps her depict gendered relations. Okay, so I'm giving you some hints as what to think about, and then I did give you the option if you want to work on a different poem. That's fine, but you must talk to me first about it. I don't want anybody choosing the to be or not to be speech from Hamlet or something like that. I want people to work on things that are newer, without a ton of stuff written about them, right? So you can do a lot of this work on your own. And it's more interesting and I think more of a challenge for you to apply the skills we're working on to newer poems. So please do. If you do want to work on a poem other than the ones I've suggested here, you gotta come and talk to me first, okay? So, let's see. So a lot of this is the same. Note number 1, I've put up optional perusal discussions for each of the poems. The structure is largely the same. The only difference I made is this note here. In your thesis statement, you must list 2 poetic devices you will analyze in the paper. Right? So in your thesis statement, you must have these, the literary devices that you're going to analyze listed. So, for example, in When I Heard at the Close of Day, Walt Whitman uses repeated apostrophes and long and jammed lines to illustrate the way that the speaker is in love and preoccupied with their unnamed lover. See? So I've made an argument. In this one, I've named 2 specific literary techniques, apostrophes and enjambment. And I've made an argument about how the poet is using those 2 literary devices. Okay? So that's, you're your thesis statement doesn't have to look exactly like that, but it must have, those two literary devices that you're going to analyze and make an argument. Okay, so that's the only difference I've made there. With note number 2, same information about avoiding a hamburger essay. So I've noted again, you must use specific poetic terms that we've been learning about. So it's not enough to say that the poet focuses on the theme of love. You have to tell me how they focus on the theme of love. What specific literary techniques do they use? And I've linked, this is a document, Key Terms. It's got a list of poetic techniques that you could definitely use. This is also in the module. And of course, in the online textbook we'll be reading from, and other things we'll be reading, you'll see lots of information about specific poetic techniques. Note number 3 is information about citing poetry, right? So just something from the OWL if you're citing poetry, right? To indicate a line break, we use a single slash to indicate a indicate a stanza break. New stanza, we have 2 slashes. So anyways, just a small note for in-text citations for poetry, you should definitely be citing from your poem. And then this is largely the same. So that's the instructions. Oh, and I've hyperlinked all the poems, so you can go to where I got them, where I found the text for the poem, and this will give you enough information to cite each of the poems in your works cited page. Okay, so all that information is available. I've hyperlinked all the poems. So let's go back to modules, and there's just some more along with the instructions and these video instructions. There's a number of things. There's a couple articles from the OWL just about writing about poetry, which might be useful. There's an article about compelling conclusions, because I know conclusions are always tough to write. There's a PowerPoint slides, my PowerPoint slides about coming up with good titles. I really want everybody to try to come up with a more academic title for this third paper. And then there are links to the optional discussion assignments. So all this is available in the response paper modules. Okay, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, of course, you can email me. Please do so as soon as you can, because this is a 6-week course. We're quickly coming to the end of those 6 weeks. So please do make sure that you look this over and start thinking about your project right away. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.